Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Urtheart's Boombox and this last-minute continue special of Game of the Year 2017 awards. My name is Urtheart, and with me I have two amazing people to help me make this list better. I have a Turbo.
Hello there.
And a Shadow.
Hello.
And that's how I'm going to call them, because if I call them by anything else, we're going to start getting confused.
Mm-hmm.
So, 2017 is almost up. Time of recording, we've got a little bit to go, but only, I think, 2 major release days in the future.
Officially, we've got 3 weeks left in the year, so...
Yeah, so I don't think there's going to be too much that's going to get released that will suddenly jump to the top of our list, but you never know, we'll correct it next year if we need to. Basic rules of this is, obviously the game has to be released in 2007. Ideally we have to have played it.
You mean 2017?
What did I just say?
You said 2007.
We're doing Game of the Decade.
We're doing Game of the Decade, everyone.
Let's try that again. The game has to be released in 2017. Ideally we have to have played it. I'm assuming you've played all the games that are in your top 5?
Of course.
Maybe. I've at least dabbled in them.
Yeah, that's close enough for me. And there was a couple of other minor rules that I put in the thing, but the other big one is, or at least for me, no games that I worked on. So that includes Sniper Elite 4, Rogue Trooper Redux, 2 different versions of Battlezone. Battlezone for Oculus and Vive, and Battlezone 98 Redux for Mac. I think that's everything we've released this year. I swear I must be missing one, because I'm sure I could have done a top 5 with just games I'd released this year, but...
Are you allowed to include games you've backed? Because that could be biased. As forgetting
okay, I probably should have made that clear. If you're on the list as a Kickstarter backer, I think that's fine. Because you've not actually helped... Well, you've helped fund the development, but you've not developed it.
Yeah.
No personal involvement, just your...
Just funding.
Funding.
Yeah. Which is buying the game anyway, so you're already funding development by buying these games for future projects.
90% of the time you are just pre-ordering these games. The Kickstarters are just pre-orders, which that's fine.
I mean, that would have, if we'd have done that, that would have kicked, I think, Ukulele off my list, but that's not in my top 5 anyway. Spoilers. Alright, well, let's get started if you guys are ready.
Yeah. Who should go first?
I'll go first just to kind of go format, and then we'll go Turbo, Shadow in reverse alphabetical order.
Fair enough.
So my number 5 is probably, I reckon, going to be possibly higher on someone else's list, but for me, it was okay. It was slightly flawed, and I think they missed a few things, and that was Sonic Mania. It was still very enjoyable, but yeah... I enjoyed it, but there was a few things that I think they could have done a lot better, and I feel they reused a bit too much. But honestly, I did enjoy the game. I do love the soundtrack. I can't fault it for that.
Soundtrack is amazing.
Yeah, as soon as they release that soundtrack digitally, I'm going to be buying that immediately.
I'm honestly surprised they haven't already released it. So many games nowadays just come with an option of soundtrack with the bundle.
Possibly.
I mean, well, granted, they probably wouldn't have that available for the PC release, being that, well, first of all, they delayed that release from its original date, and second, it was all just through Steam. Whilst some other kind of like indie-style games, like for example, I don't know,
Undertale.
Undertale or something like that.
A game made by a musician who would obviously want to sell.
It's like he wanted to have his track digitally available. I'm thinking of another game that I never got a chance to play, but here's an honorable mention: Hover, Revolt of Gamers, or simply just called Hover. That was released on Steam, and it has a really good soundtrack, which was also kickstarted. With some 2 extra tracks done by the legendary Hideki Naganuma from the Jet Set Radio and Sonic Rush games. Brilliant musician in his own right, and they had their stuff all released on the same day, when the game came out of early access and the soundtrack was made officially available on both. I think it was like Bandcamp and iTunes and all those digital platforms. So
Yeah,
There's a lot
I
of
mean,
that-
Sega have their
a lot of
own
it on Steam
platform
as
for
well.
releasing stuff. So, but yeah, so my number 5 is Sonic Mania. Turbo, what's your number 5?
my number 5 is actually probably something that a lot of people didn't remember actually came out this year, because it came out at the very start of this year. It's a digital game that was very popular in the Japanese audience, but finally got its digital release here for the Western side, especially here in the UK, and that's Hatsune Miku Project Diva Future Tone.
Yes, that was.
Oh, I
the beginning
downloaded
of
it,
this year.
definitely.
Yeah,
I think I actually did play that this year, or at least I played. I played like a demo. I think.
Well, I know you and me played the Japanese version down in Portsmouth at some point.
that was probably the one I'm thinking of then. Yeah.
yeah, but the English version for that released in January of this year. Like it was like very early, so I'm kind of cheating with this.
Well,
But
no, it's still this year, so-
for us, for the Western market, it came out this year, so I'm including it in my top 5. And it's just so good for value, essentially. Even though they've split it into 2 packs.
They did so in the Japanese release, though.
Yeah, but essentially, both packs added together is that of a full retail game, and for a full retail game, you're getting tons of content, like over 200 tracks from the get-go. Something like a Guitar Hero or a Rock Band don't have that kind of like value, essentially.
Not from
When
the
they
get-go,
first come out,
certainly not.
when they first
No.
come out, they only have like 50 or 60 or 70 tracks. Not Future Tone. This is a port of an arcade game that was made available only in arcades. But now with the power of PlayStation 4, they were able to bring that arcade game to home consoles, and that was a very impressive feat for them. And it's very underrated too, because I had some skepticism to the musical tastes of the series, and in this game in particular, but really it is really good value for money. I mean, you get the base game for free, and you just pay for the rest. The base game's only like 2-3 tracks, but that's a
think it's
nice
2.
little taster of how to look
if you
forward
like what it
to
is.
what's available afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you like what it is, you know exactly what you're going to get, so you can
Yeah.
put more down.
I'm actually surprised how much costume bits you can unlock just in the free
There-
version.
Yeah, that was a
You just-
lot.
You just have to replay the same 2 songs a lot.
Yeah.
To be fair to your argument about it releasing in Japan earlier, one of my entries was released in Japan last year and released in everywhere else this year, so I'm fine with that.
Well, so my number 5 might be a bit of an interesting one because it's similar scenario, but it wasn't actually. It's more of a wider release, as I would say.
Go
And
on.
what would that be?
Eve Valkyrie Warzone. Previously, the Eve Valkyrie series was a VR-only space fighter sim. With the release of Warzone, they removed all the VR and made it accessible to absolutely everyone who had a PC, really. And I had a huge amount of fun with it. I have a personal fondness for like flight sim games, and you don't get many of them really. Not like high action, fast paced ones. And
That is true. It's been a very lacking genre of consistent releases.
I
there's-
want my
there's no-
X-Wing versus TIE Fighter back.
yeah, there's no like yearly release. There's no FIFA. There's no Madden of flight sims. So
Yeah, there's no
Train
predominant
simulator or anything.
franchise in that genre that
Not in
has.
the arcadey one, at least. I'm
No,
pretty
so-
sure Microsoft do their flight simulator every year still.
yeah, but it's like I mean one of the first games I got on my Xbox was Project Sylphid, which was a reimagining of like the original one back in God knows whatever it was, but that just the fast-paced action of a 3-dimensional fighting environment is something that really appeals to me, and the fact that I was finally able to play it as a massive Eve player anyway. So that one it about scrapes in to my top 5.
I've only played the VR version. I haven't played the non-VR version.
Honestly, playing the non-VR version has made me want the VR version so much. But obviously, as with many things, sometimes things aren't on a list because of the price.
Yeah, that's why there's no Switch games on my list, because
yeah,
I haven't got a Switch.
I'm going to say right now, I've got no Switch games on mine. I'd like to say, like, you know, you can pretty much pick up any major game on the Switch, Mario, Zelda, and it'll be a good game. I just cannot personally weigh into this. Yeah.
As of day of recording, I managed to get a copy of Mario Odyssey today.
Oh, wow.
So it's not on the list because I haven't had a chance to properly get into it yet. But nah.
No, yeah, that's fair.
Cool. So my number 4 is a game I actually thought I wouldn't enjoy because I thought it would be too much of a repeat of its previous incarnation. And while that's kind of true, I still did thoroughly enjoy it, a lot more than I thought I was. And that is Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. Now, to be fair, I don't actually own a copy of this game. I borrowed a copy of it from someone else and basically blitzed it over a weekend. But I did finish the main storyline, so still on my list. I do feel it does...
It was mainly single player, isn't it? Or mostly, or 100%?
I think it's 100%. I don't think there's any multiplayer.
No.
But I thought it would be... I thought it was far too close to the release of the original, that it literally just be the same thing again. It's kind of true. They do enough to spice it up. The story takes a few odd twists. Jumping the shark is a bit of an understatement for this one. And there's actually a lot of post-game content, which I was surprised by, and I haven't gone through all that. But it's still just as much fun as the original. It didn't impress me as much as the original, I will say that. But when I say the original, I mean Wolfenstein: The New Order, not Wolfenstein 3D back in
the new generation of Wolfensteins.
Yeah, I don't know, have either of you guys played the newer Wolfenstein games or?
I've never really gotten into the Wolfenstein series in general, really. I mean, I've played the original Wolfenstein 3D, but it's just not as iconic to me as Doom. And of course, last year's Doom 2016 was obviously one of my game of the years of that year.
It was my game of the year last year as well. Probably helped that it came out around my birthday as well.
Coincidence. But no, I've never sat down with the recent Wolfenstein series of the New Order and even the Old Blood, and of course most recently the New Colossus.
The Old Blood you can skip. The New Order I would say give a shot, but out of the 3 recent ID first-person shooters, Doom is still way above Wolfenstein 2.
Oh yeah. That's why I plan on getting it on the Switch sometime down the line.
I'm not so sure on that one. I do want to try the VR one though.
Oh,
but yes, my number 4 is Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. Honestly, considering it went down to 20 quid on the Black Friday sales, and I kind of regret not getting it then. If you can find it for 20 quid, get it. It's still worth that easily.
All right.
Well, with my number 4, I am going a little indie here, so don't stone me. But there was a nice little indie game available on the Switch this year that is probably one of the best value for money kind of like games on the Switch. It's less than a $5. In fact, I think it's like £3 something or whatever. And it's very underrated. It's very simple, endless runner game, and it's called Night Terrors. Night spelt with a K, not with an N.
As in ye olde night.
Ye olde night, yes. And the simple premise is that you are this knight who has the ability to, attack enemies as he's running along this endless run. And he also has wings in his back as well, which he can use to levitate off of the ground with timed presses of the jump button for it. And it's basically how far can you go without getting a game over. Simple as that. And it's very addictive gameplay for something that is very simple. And it's something obviously that would be more akin to mobile devices like iOS and Android, but it works for the Switch in my opinion. And
the the difference between mobile and certainly more Switch, because Switches are much more, because they kind of gone Portal with it.
Yeah.
You even got like you got your Pokemon on your phone, you got your Mario on your phone, you got your Animal Crossing on your phone now. So the line is very much blurring between those two, certainly for Nintendo.
Yeah, but this is again another game that kind of like blurs that line even more. Where this could have easily just been released on the iOS and no one would have given two monkeys about it. But because I actually know the man who actually designed this game, his name's Sam. He is the head of Freak Zone Games, and he previously worked on the Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures series.
Oh, that's cool.
And he's also done Jump and Shoot Attack, which was also on iOS. And he also did another indie game on Steam PC, Manos: The Hands of Fate, which is based on the very cult-like movie of the same name. But he's a great guy, and he's also a very talented guy. He definitely knows what he likes from the era that he's kind of like spawning these games from. He's spawning from the 8-bit, 16-bit kind of like era, and particularly that of the Master System, because he's also UK. He's also from the UK as well. He's a UK indie developer, and he has that pedigree of being brought up in those kind of like eras, and he knows what works from those eras, and that shows in Night Terrors. The soundtrack is a great 8-bit rendition soundtrack. That's very fun to listen to. Heck, I'm surprised it's not available for download at the moment. But
the past is in.
Yeah, well, retro is the new black.
Retro is the new indie.
Yeah, but no, it's really fun game. Really dirt cheap as well. It's definitely one of my top games for this year, hands down, as one of the best indie games of this year.
I remember you recommending this to me earlier this week, actually, and I mentioned it to someone at work, and they'd never heard of it. They downloaded it immediately, and they quite enjoyed it as well.
Good.
Oh, good. Moving on then, shall we?
Yeah, go for it.
I'll admit, like, other than my like number 1 and number 5 spot, the middle 3 for me are just kind of. I could honestly swap these around, so I'm going to throw out The Evil Within 2.
I didn't even know you played it.
This is one of those games where I've watched a Let's Play and then I've picked it up because it was really cheap on sale the other day or something. It's like 20 quid.
It was also one of those. It's by Bethesda as well. So along with Wolfenstein, it went 20 quid on Black Friday.
Yeah, that did. And I mean, I never really. I watched the first one and never picked up the first one, but the improvements over this game, because you've got like a little hub world, and then you go kind of on a linear mission area, then you gotta get another hub world, and of course there's like optional extras you can scavenge around to pick up ammo packs and more ammo and crafting materials, and it's kind of like it kind of fits into that resource management horror game, stealth game. So it's a bit like your Resident Evil 7, which gets an honourable mention from me because I haven't played that. But again,
it's funny that you picked this one as one of your top 5, because that was one of my honourable mentions as well. Evil Within 2, because I played both games of Evil Within and Evil Within 2, and of course I was invested with how the story was, because it kind of follows on from the first game, and as you said in the gameplay and whatnot, it is more refined in its kind of like scavenger survival kind of like. It definitely takes a lot of aspects from the Last of Us. Definitely, I can tell you that much. So,
but the way the game messes with your mind, the amount of times you'll go to a place, turn around, and it's different, or you'll just kind of look at something and it just changes. The world shifting and the world manipulation is absolutely top notch. And well, I'll say this: you can go to like your little home office by looking into a mirror. These mirrors will be scattered around the world. You look into it, and like 2 seconds you're there. There is no loading between them. It is a seamless transition between two very different, contrasting areas.
Definitely agree on the real good performance that the game did with its work.
So definitely worth picking up. So the first one was good. This one is even more amazing. The story is very. The story like wraps itself up very nice. There's still a couple of little threads. There's more to work on if they make another one, but it's a very good kind of contained. From if you played one or anything about one, you don't even really need to know too much about one. If you just have a basic plot summary, pretty much you're fine with it.
See, I've not played the first one, and I've been tempted to pick both of these up. I think what's just put me off is horror. Me and horror games don't tend to work well. I tend to get very bored with them.
This one does well because it's a lot. There's a lot of really cool monster designs as well in this one, and
well, let me put it this way: Alien Isolation kept me engaged, so it's possible for it to do. I'm not dissing your choices here. From what I've seen, it looks really good. It's just not my kind of game, but it's interested me certainly.
Oh no, we'll say. Well, yeah. So that made it on my list as number 4. We'll say it could be number. Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, my 4 and 3 are kind of similar. I wasn't. I switched these two for quite a bit, but my number 3 is actually an indie game which technically it's been in early access for quite a while. Actually, I think for a few years. But it actually fully released in August this year, and I said in our rules behind the scene, anything that goes from early access to full release is fair game, even if you played it beforehand. And that game is 20XX, which is a procedurally generated Mega Man X kind of game.
I was going to say, with the title 20XX, that sounded very Mega Man-y.
Well, obviously there's been quite a bit of a drought of Mega Man games, if you don't count Mighty Number 9.
They did just
and the
release,
recently announced Mega Man 11.
But that's not out this year.
No, it's not.
But 20XX it's done by an indie team. I think this is their first game. So as a first game, they've obviously worked for a few number of years on it, but it's done very well. You have 8 core bosses that, depending the order you fight them is kind of randomly generated. The first one is random, and then you get a choice between the next one you fight from 3 of the remaining bosses. Each one has a weakness to each other if you know what they are. Usual Mega Man fare. But because the levels are more procedurally generated, no 2 of your run-throughs are ever really going to be the same. There's a nice progression system which allows you to unlock more items. There's like a library where you can see all the items you've managed to find so far. They do also have a Zero rip-off character. I think the main character is called Nina, and then the Zero character is called Ace. But it all works together really well. It's rather well polished. It's still got the odd bug here or there, but you honestly don't notice. But the amount of variety you can get with the game is brilliant. It's not one I play continuously. I do just tend to go back to it to have a run once in a while, but considering I do that probably once every other week, I think that's a good time of game.
Casual pick up and put down games.
Exactly. It's something I still do with Binding of Isaac, occasionally.
Yeah.
But if you are looking for a Mega Man fix before Mega Man 11 comes out, I honestly would advise checking out 20XX. I think anyone in that kind of line will enjoy it. Obviously, it's not quite as polished as your big budget ones, but I think it's very impressive for the team that's worked on it. So yeah, 20XX.
So if you're disappointed with Mighty Number 9, go to 20XX.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, my number 3, we were just talking about it recently with The Evil Within 2, is that of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. I picked it up on PS4, and I can definitely say that this is probably the game that has probably helped give the PlayStation VR a lot of its success towards, because I played this in VR from start to end on my first playthrough, mind you, and I was really in depth. It was obviously I didn't sit down like for a whole like 8 for the whole 12 hour kind of like campaign. No, I took breaks from it constantly.
Try and marathon a horror game like that would be
especially with VR. Yeah. But it was really good. It was really good with the kind of like with the atmosphere, and obviously just just the action being right in your face, essentially, it really did, make me jump from moment to moment. The obviously the combat and stuff like that were obviously quite tight.
You again got that kind of little mini craft, like resource management again, horror.
Yes, yeah, and even the extra stuff for it, the DLC for it, the banned footage, kind of like DLC that was made available almost immediately after launch, was a nice little way of tying over and whatnot. And of course, with the game's Gold Edition being out as of this recording a week away.
Was it already out?
No. It's the Gold Edition's not out until the 12th.
Because that's when the final DLC stuff releases
Yes.
as well?
Yeah.
Yes. So
Resident Evil was one
finally
of the
that
first games this year, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was. It came out in
24th of January.
Yes. Aye. So it was, again, another January game. So that.
If a game came out in January and it's in your top 5, you know it was a very memorable game.
Oh yeah. Well, that was the same case with Future Tone earlier in my list.
I've got a couple of those early starters that are just stuck with me.
I've watched some of this game with my work colleagues playing it. They didn't even have the VR, and watching them scream like little girls was rather hilarious.
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting change for the Resident Evil series in general, to go from its kind of campy to actual a serious horror.
Well, it does have a bit of camp here and there. You got your main protagonist who doesn't have much in the way of personality because this is obviously designed around the VR a little bit as well, and the first-person perspective. He doesn't have that much saying, but and it's mainly you who are needing to respond to certain kind of like events unfolding. But he does have his moments where he does throw in a cheesy line here and there.
Yeah.
No, it was a real risk because this was a mainline Resident Evil game going first person rather than a spin-off like the Survivor series and the other spin-offs, Dead Aim and the Chronicles games.
What was the shooter? Wasn't there a shooter that either came out this year or last year that was like Umbrella Chronicles
Umbrella
shooter thing or
Corps?
something?
Yeah, Umbrella Corps.
That was it.
I think that was last year, but
Probably.
that was really bad. That was their attempt of trying to get into the competitive multiplayer shooter kind of like genre, and that didn't go too well for them. But it's good that this Resident Evil 7 was a success, and it was also a major help in helping the VR scene flourish with its integration. So. Definitely
it's just nice to see, because the only other we're seeing a few more fully fledged games coming out, but a lot of them are remakes like Doom and Fallout and
Skyrim's been out for a while, hasn't it?
And also like all the Serious Sams are now in VR as well.
Yes, I saw that pop up in my Steam library at some point.
So actually, Resident Evil is one of the, it's one of the first big names to really make that jump.
Yeah. So Resident Evil 7 was on my honourable mentions, as I said. So yeah, fantastic game, fantastic choice. Back round to me, I guess.
Yep.
Let's see. Let's go with the prequel, Yakuza 0. Again, very beginning of this year. I mean, I could really... For this year, I could just say Year of Yakuza, because we had Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami, and Yakuza Kiwami 2, which...
Is Kiwami 2 out yet?
I think it's coming out. I don't think it's out yet. I think it's actually out this year, though.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, it's not out in the West now, so...
But no, I mean, it's... I mean, if you know Yakuza, if you like Yakuza, you know exactly what you're getting into. You're getting into some crazy, crazy stories with some great combat and just a really enjoyable story. Because the two characters you get to obviously you get your main character, and Majima. You get to play as a Majima, which you get to learn of his history. You get to learn how he became, is it the Mad Dog? So, I mean, the game is... You can also describe the game as a mini-game collection, because, well, you got bowling, you got... It's like the... what is it? What is it called? Estate agency. That's the one. that's what your like main money-making income is from estate agency, which...
So what you're saying is they can do this better than EA can do with SimCity.
I mean, yeah, it's I don't. It's one of those things where I don't really know how to fully describe it. It's like I said, if you've played a Yakuza game, you know exactly what you're gonna kind of get into. But no, I mean it's open world. You've got your chapters. Every couple of chapters, you switch between your two characters. You get to learn. You're playing two stories in tandem. At which point, at the end, obviously they interlink. Whether or not the characters know they interlinked or not is for you to find out. But no,
go on.
I was going to say it's just a fun game. It's a really fun, properly like long single player experience, and
thing is, I own 3 Yakuza games and I've not played any of them. It's been a series I keep wanting to get into.
It's the same with me. It's a series that's been requested for my Turbo Drive Live Let's Play series, and I actually do have a copy of Yakuza Kiwami ready to go. It's just getting around to putting it in and actually be in the right mindset for it, is because I've not really dabbled too much into the series, and I've not really wanted to get into it, but I know a lot of people have a lot of love for this series. A lot of people have a lot of because I always wrote it off as the Japanese version of Grand Theft Auto, and it's not really that at all. It is its own monster with its design and environment and combat and overall gameplay.
It's a bit like a character action kind of because in the way the combat plays it's very over the top. There's a lot of upgrades as well for it.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen some of the footage. It is over the top, so it would usually be right down my alley because I'm a fan of Platinum games, so it would be right down for me.
Platinum-y, yeah.
I mean, I've always seen people really refer to it more as the kind of spiritual successor to the Shenmue games more than anything.
I can't say I've played Shenmue.
Neither have I, so...
Yeah, so people can say a lot of things about things I don't know, and I'll just have to accept that as fact.
So which one was it? So it was Yakuza Kimwari you're putting in?
Zero. I'm putting Zero. Zero's... Yeah. That's the one that's... That was like the new one. Kiwami was a remake of 1, except with the new Majima Everywhere system, which might be the greatest system in any game ever, I will say. just having your rival appear anywhere, just decide to just be there and fight you. Just, yep, I'm here. I appear out of a bin. I'm a clown. I'm a zombie. You
might be.
I am everywhere.
Definitely gives Vegeta a run for his money.
Yeah. So yeah, Yakuza 0.
Cool. So for my number 2, I feel kind of bad because honestly, I could have filled most of my top 5 with remakes. So my honourable mention for remakes go to Akami HD, Final Fantasy 12.
That's not out yet, is it? But it's...
Yes, I think it is out now.
Oh, is it?
I think it came out late last month or something.
Maybe in some places. I don't think we've got it yet.
I'll look it up on Steam later.
Yeah.
It says it on there. It's out this year, though.
It comes out this year at some point.
But yeah, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts. There was too much. But I will say the one that I've enjoyed the most, and honestly probably had the most effort put into, is one that may divide some of the hardcore fans, but I honestly think you can't fault how much love and effort has gone into it, and that is the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy.
Yes, I remember the controversy at the beginning about the jump or the hitbox. He was more rounded.
Yeah, I mean, I could get into, the problems with that and how I think I can't blame them for it, but I think that's for another episode. Honestly, if you play through it, yes, it may infuriate you, but you can't deny that they spent a lot of time trying to make it feel as accurate to the originals as possible while still adding as much detail, more detail as they can. There's loads of just little stuff like being able to add Coco in as a playable character for pretty much the entirety of all three games, and just extra little animations here and there. There's the odd little fix here and there which really helps, especially in the first game where you don't have to get the gems in one life for the most part.
I can't remember the amount of time I spent on the original, like Crash Bandicoots 1, 2 and all that, just trying to just going backwards and forwards, collecting all the crates, and
it's a very big part of a lot of people's childhood, and I think this game very much does it justice.
I was like, it's on my games to pick up now that I've actually got a PS4, so
I can just lend you my copy because I'm not gonna. I've 100%ed all three games, including the DLC for the super hard level on the first game.
Oh wow, nice.
So I'm probably not going to be playing it anytime soon. But if you,
when I see you next time, I might pick it up and try it out.
But yeah, I mean, for value for money, I mean, you are getting free full games practically. They're a bit short compared to these days, but the game's also fairly budget price as well. And honestly, I think this is one that pretty much anyone can enjoy. I do think a lot of games this year have been very adult to, or at least 16 plus aimed. So it's nice to have just a silly, family-friendly fun game. To be fair, Sonic Mania on my list probably could have fit that as well. But yeah, honestly, if you find the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, if you're a fan of the originals, you've probably already got it. But if you're not a fan and you like platformers, it will infuriate you at times, but honestly, it's well worth it. So yeah, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. This is the only HD remake on mine, and I think this one deserves it because it wasn't just a remaster; it was a full-blown,
it was built from the ground up
remake.
Yeah. No, reasonable to say. It's a chance to see what most of us grew up with if you're a younger generation.
And realise that you do need to get good.
Yeah. The Dark Souls of platforming.
Oh, don't get started with that. Anyway.
Go for it, Tobo.
Well, yeah, so we already talked about, you've already talked about this earlier in your list, Urtheart, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about it here. My number 2 pick is that of Sonic Mania. Because at first, I was in the camp where I was not being overhyped with the marketing of how Sonic Mania was being handled and whatnot. I was just basically one of those people. I will give this game my judgment when I get to play it, like fully, like full on, kind of like from start to finish. And when I did finally get to play this from start to finish, boy, was I pleased with the result. I was enjoying it from zone to zone, essentially. I didn't really have that much bad to talk about this. It was really good. I bought both the PS4 and Switch version. Having it on the go with the Switch definitely is a godsend. Essentially, there's nothing more fun than being on a train, going down to Glasgow, and just having a session on Sonic Mania to pass the time. And it's always been a recommendation. I always recommend it every time a person who's looking for games on the Switch, even though there's so many great games on the Switch, and it hasn't even been out for a year yet, and it's so many. The library is just absolutely chock-a-block with great titles.
It's like it came out in March, so it's had like what, 9 months almost to
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know Nintendo, you know they are I think they've learnt their lesson about not having enough good games out on
From the
release.
Wii U, anyway.
Yeah, aye.
Well, I say that, like, I mean, the Wii didn't actually have an amazing roundup.
No, it didn't have a great start either. I know, but no, this with the Switch, it has definitely gone full throttle with.
I mean, you had a Mario and a Link.
Zelda,
He launched with a Zelda.
Link, Zelda, yeah.
But no, going back to Sonic Mania, it was fun. Having those 3 playable characters and the only drawback I have with it is I would have liked a little bit of a better reward, because even though everyone associates the original the trio of characters and whatnot, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles as playable characters and whatnot, and they're the fun gameplay styles and whatnot. Me being a big Blaze the Cat fan, I would have loved to have her as an unlockable secret character, because she plays just like the other 3. She is essentially a reflection of Sonic and whatnot, and yet she has had no love in the last I'm gonna say like 7 years.
She's not even in Sonic Forces. And
Yeah.
Silver is.
I'm trying to think, because Blaze, she was 06. You had was it Rush? Was it as well?
Rush
Or
Adventure.
Rush Adventure.
And she's been in most of the Olympic Games as well.
Yeah, she's been in the side games.
Yeah, the side
Yeah.
games, not in any major.
Yeah,
actual-
no platforming game.
Well-
She hasn't been in a platforming game since Sonic Rush Adventure.
Yeah. And
Oh,
the
so-
only main title she's been in is 06, really.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to your point, actually, I kind of agree that I think they missed the ball on having either unlockable or even, at the worst case scenario, DLC character skins for them. Because you could
Yeah.
easily replace Sonic with Shadow or Blaze.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
I mean,
that's
but
what the
Blaze-
modder community has been doing on the PC version.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That didn't Blaze have her own kind of set of mechanics in Rush though?
Yes.
So
A little
I mean,
bit.
I mean, honestly, just seeing like I don't know, like a £5 character pack where they just kind of pack in as many characters as they can. So you kind of you get your Blaze, your Shadow, your Rouge, your whatever, whoever you want. Cream, Amy, I don't know.
Heavy and
they
Bomb.
yeah, Big the Cat. Why not? Let's go. Let's go.
Don't get them ideas.
I mean,
It's like
while
I've had enough memeage of from Sonic Team as it is.
You say that there's actually a really, really good Big the Cat mod for Sonic 2, which is a fishing game. Like, they've completely redone the Sonic 2 game to be a fishing game with Big, and it's actually really, really good.
that's
Oh, boy.
impressive.
I'm actually planning on possibly doing a quick Let's Play of that at some point, but yes. Yeah, no, I do think that I think there's a lot of potential. One of my other major gripes was I really wish they'd done more new levels.
Yeah.
I think they had a good mix, but maybe a couple more new ones.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
the
there was only 4 new levels in this game out of I think there was 14 or 12 or 14
12,
levels.
I think.
Yeah.
Because
As-
a third of them are new.
And as I once said before, though, it's like it's not necessarily really a new game. It's a love letter of everything that was Sonic back in those days. It's it's the best of everything.
But with the success of this game, because this was successful, I'll tell you that
Oh,
much.
yeah.
This has had Sega in the limelight since the summer of this year, and it has the potential. It has that kind of like potential of having a successor from this game by the same team, and that will be just as successful. Afterwards. So
I think they could make it more successful. I think there's a couple of things they can learn from this. That will...
Oh yeah, there will be things that they can learn from this. This
is the first time they've done a proper official from the ground, like their own game, isn't it? Because I think the members who worked on it, they did the ports and stuff, didn't they, of the old games?
Yeah.
But this is the first time they've actually had the chance to stretch their legs.
Yeah. And even with that, they had some limitations. But if you just give them the tools, give them the freedom, they will make something special, and even more special than what they've just provided for Sega. So and I look forward to what that will be in the future. But for this year, they did well with Sonic Mania, and that's why it's number 2 on me.
I'm intrigued to see what your number 1 is, but let's let Shadow go first.
I praised Sonic Mania. Like I said, it made it onto my honourable mentions. Which I'm actually going to mention another honourable mention, another platforming game or sort of semi-platformy, Cuphead. It's not my number 2, but it's definitely worth a mention because again, that was another one of those labour of loves from people who. I mean, did you see the story where they actually mortgaged their house and stuff to finish the game and everything?
It's on my to-do list. It's a game I want to play, but I really want to be in the right mindset to play Cuphead because I think it's going to give me Super Meat Boy style flashbacks.
It's a boss rush game. It's a platforming boss rush, so prepare for a lot of challenge. But going back onto track, number 2 for me is a number 2 game. It is Destiny 2.
Fair enough.
It's the original Destiny 1. It came out, and it was kind of a bit of a bland mess, is what we'll call it. You kind of heard the stories behind it all and how the direction was. No, we want it to be more casual, to open for everyone, but no, we want more story so that. And you ended up in this mid place where you had very little really going on, and stuff got changed, and by the time they eventually fixed it, by the time the final DLC was out, but that also meant that Destiny 2, they reset it, and it was a bigger improvement. It was also very cool that the way, if you had played the first one and your character was pulled over, you had different dialogue, because obviously you were someone who had interacted with the world there was, the enemies there were. They'd say, I've never seen this version of the Fallen, these enemies here before. Whereas if you're a new character, you go, oh, these are the Fallen, these are machine people things, whatever they are. so it's like the game changed depending on if you'd played it before. But I mean, it has the single player. Okay, so I'm gonna call it the single player storyline because you can do it in the odd number of 3, which is the one big downside. Yeah. For some reason, every game since like the 1990s has decided that 4-player, that's the magic number. And then Destiny came along and went, 3. Let's do 3. You know that one friend you don't really like? Kick him out. You don't need him. But they've kept multiplayer at 4-player.
For this one, anyway.
Yeah, for this one.
It seems just weird.
But no, yeah, so, I mean, the storyline is much more focused. It's... Again, you're kind of in that situation of you are the only one who can save as you watch 1,000 other people running around in the same situation you are. But the story was much better. I mean, I played through it all single player perfectly fine, and I mean the Curse of Osiris, the new DLC, just came out on Tuesday, and I picked up Destiny again and was playing through the single player and playing through the storyline again, and I was again enjoying it very muchly. It's the characters are much more built on, and of course I'm just talking about this from a single player base as well, because I mean you still got you got your strikes, which are 3-player made missions where you're meant to run them with 3 people, so you can have fun with those, and they got all the modifiers on them. You got your raid, which is your big old boss. Which Earth, you actually run the raid with me. Did we do it?
No, we haven't done I haven't done the raid with you guys yet.
Have you not?
No.
I thought you did. Oh.
I just haven't had time. I've not got up to the right level yet.
I thought you were at 270. Oh.
I think I'm just about ready to do it.
We'll have to do that at some point.
We're going to have to wait for the rest of our fire team to return from abroad now.
Yeah, the rest of the fire team. But I mean, that's to say, again, nothing. So you have all that, and then, of course, on top of that, you do have the multiplayer mode, which some people can be umming and ahhing about. I don't think the number 4 works for Destiny. In the previous one, you had 3 for like tactical games and 6 for fun games, and I think they need to bring back that 6v6 chaos mode. But it, like with all the different guns, all the different armors, all the different abilities, you can swap between them all. You can find a way to play, and then find an entirely different way of playing, and then find another way of playing, and enjoy them all. It's just a lot of fun. There's so much to do. Like I said, I picked up again. I spent about 4 hours on it, and I kind of want to go back onto it some more. It's one of those games that's just... it hits all the right notes for like a cooperative game.
I think
don't
the
know if anyone
big
else
thing for
is.
me is it hit my shortlist definitely, but there was a lot of stuff in the first one which admittedly came out in future DLCs and stuff, but I just feel why you had a good thing by the end of Destiny 1, why have you gone and removed stuff like what's it called? The free player one where you, with Varix.
Oh, the Horde mode, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
It was hang on. Prison of Elders, that was the one.
That's it, yeah. Like, why was that not returned straight away?
Yeah, I don't actually. That's a good point. I don't know why that's not there. Actually, I will say though, because Destiny 2 they currently have the they're doing it's now out for quote unquote free, but you can only get to level 7.
Oh yeah,
and you can only
mode,
explore
yeah.
2 areas. But so I've been playing it through again on PC, but I've been playing it with no HUD. And it's actually rather fun because you realise that a lot of the guns like have ammo counters and
I've always wondered why. It's a nice touch, but just why?
But I'm going to try and get through as much of that as I can HUDless. Because there are certain guns as well that have like a melee and grenade meter, so you can tell when all of your abilities are up.
Cool.
So yes, I mean there's still room for some improvement, but again, it's going to be one of those games that I'm going to be playing for the next few years, at least like casually, on and off.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably be joining you for some of that when I can, but...
Yeah.
So, before we announce our number ones, you guys did mention about not-so-good games of the year.
Ooh, where do we start with?
Well, let's see. Is there any failures of the year you want to give away?
Well, the most notable one that I can easily just say is that of Sonic Forces. Even though we have Sonic Mania at such a high, we have Sonic Forces, which is at such a low.
I disagree. I don't think it's at a low. I think it's at a meh. It's a
meh low then. Because really,
it's a shame to follow Mania with that.
Yeah, well, that too. But of course, I had my skepticism to it and all that. It's like I was again, like with Sonic Mania, I was gonna judge it based on what I played, and what I played with I bought the Switch version myself because to heck with the trophies, because I wasn't getting, because that was the problem. That's the problem with some games nowadays, is when they want to put too much challenge into earning trophies and whatnot, and that was quite evident with Sonic Forces, where it's like, oh, you get a trophy for doing every single challenge in the game.
Yeah, and it's not that bad. It's just a bit of a grind. Annoyingly, I have one trophy left.
Yeah, and I don't like that grind. I don't like the game forcing me to grind this through very bad level design, because it is bad level design.
I don't know if I'd agree on that.
Well, it's boring. It's boring level design. It's not fun. If you make a game, if you made the game fun, I would have incentive to replay the game. That's why I replay Sonic Mania, because it's fun. Forces, on the other hand, doesn't have fun. It doesn't have any fun level design or level quirks or memorable set pieces or memorable kind of like musical pieces to it. It doesn't have anything that will captivate me into playing it again, and that is quite evident.
It's basically the gaming equivalent of just forgettable.
Yes.
It's not offensive. It's not necessarily bad. It's just forgettable.
I'll be one thing I disagree.
Yeah, but I feel as though that sometimes is bad. It's just as bad.
It can be worse in ways.
The only thing I think I disagree with you is I think certainly the Avatar character music I don't mind. For me, the low point is definitely the classic Sonic stuff. That is atrocious. Mm-hmm. Both music, level design. Here's the thing: like, if I gave this to a small child, I think it'd be fine. I actually think it's really easy enough and really simple enough that you can give this to like a 5-year-old kid and it'll be fine. But certainly for the core Sonic fans, it's definitely not built with them in mind.
Certainly for us older, jaded males.
But yeah,
we are talking about this game as of a much older demographic than probably the more intended audience. But
oddly enough, I think my most, because I would say that's definitely probably your biggest disappointment of the year. Mine is oddly actually not Sonic Forces. There's a game that disappointed me even further, and might be slightly controversial, in Zelda Breath of the Wild.
ooh,
I started out, I started enjoying it, but the more that I played of the game, the worse and worse it got. And the big reason for that was they punish you so badly for wanting to fight enemies. The game has, in theory has unlimited weapons, but when you can only take out 2 or 3 enemies with each weapon, and the more robust and, stronger weapons will only still last about 9 to 10 enemies, and then it's near to impossible to get them back. And it
I
just
didn't realize
made,
that there was weapon degradation in it.
and the problem is that weapon degradation is too severe for anyone that wants to deal in the combat side of the game. And that's the part of the game I did enjoy, and it punished me really heavily, because the other thing it does is every few amount of in-game days it resurrects all the enemies, but it resurrects them at a higher level. So eventually you're having to go through 3 or 4 weapons to get through one enemy, and it's just not fun. Once I didn't bother to do any of the side missions, because by the time I'd done the 4 main temples, I just wanted to get the game over and done with. Now, admittedly, I played this on the Wii U, not Switch, which may have an effect. I've heard some people say the weapon degradation is worse on the Wii U for whatever reason, but
It's not
it's
like
a
a frame
game-
rate issue, is it? Like with Dark
well, no,
Souls, where
because
it's
the frame
60
rate's
frames.
better on the Wii U. It's more stable. But yeah, just I was genuinely looking forward to it, and I hated it by the end of it. It's still not my worst Zelda game by far. Skyward Sword easily takes that honor. But yeah, I really didn't like Breath of the Wild by the end of it.
I don't think I had any. I don't think I had any major disappointments throughout the year. I guess, I mean, Mass Effect Andromeda. I was a big fan of Mass Effect. I enjoyed those games so much, and then Andromeda was just kind of one sort of issue after the other, to a point of where by the time that it was just dropped eventually, and it's like, well,
Yeah,
it was like
dropped that hard.
yeah, it was like the animation was janky, then the writing wasn't that good, and in the end it just kind of like, the game came out in March, and it's like I kind of even forgot it existed until I was looking at a list of every game that came out. So speaking of forgotten games, Lawbreakers, anyone?
Oh god.
Do you know how many players that had on Steam last month?
Less than 10, I think.
So peak players was 480.
Oh really?
That is for a game that came out in August.
Yeah, that's bad. That's higher than I thought it was, though.
I think the concurrent players is less than 100, but that's like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's get off this depressive one. And for my number 1, if you know me, I like my JRPGs, so this one probably isn't that so much of a surprise.
Would it be the Persona?
Yes.
Yeah.
Persona 5, honestly, is actually one of 2 games I've played this year where I literally lost track of time. The other one being Final Fantasy 15, but that came out last year. I just didn't play it till January. But honestly, I just love Persona 5. The music is beautiful. You just feel so much for the characters because you just relate so well to them. The combat is not the most advanced stuff, but it still can be challenging if you set the right difficulty. Honestly, there's just so much to love about this game, and I've bought the game, I've bought the physical soundtrack, I've just recently bought the art book. I don't know whether I prefer this or the previous entry. There's some stuff about Persona 4 Golden I prefer, but I had absolutely no regrets about picking up Persona 5. And if you do like your JRPGs and you've never tried a Persona game, just get it. It's absolutely amazing. I even watched Yahtzee's review where he went, yeah, I can criticise this till the cows come home, but you know what? I still wanted to see the storyline. I was that invested. And again, this came out quite early. This came out in April, so. And admittedly, I haven't played it since I 100%ed it, but honestly, I would happily play it again. Never know, maybe I'll do a let's play of it, though that's going to be
Have they still got the ban on the let's playing, or?
I have no idea.
I remember you could only get up to like a certain chapter before they said no more, which was completely for a single player storyline game. It's an understandable kind of thing. It's like, well, why would people play it if they can just watch it?
They have a very different mentality of that kind of stuff in Japan, though, I think. I think they genuinely do have this fear of people would rather just watch the game than play it. And to be fair, you can have a fairly different experience playing it because of who you decide to interact with. But honestly, if you've not played Persona 5 and you like your JRPGs, get it. It's fantastic. I don't really have anything I can criticise about the game. I honestly just love it that much. All I'll say is don't worry about buying any of the DLC because it's all pointless. The free stuff's nice though.
I was like, I've no knowledge of the Persona series. But it's I watched a few episodes of a Let's Play up to the point. Not even up to the point where you could, but it definitely seems an interesting pickup. It's something that might go on the back burner of mine if I get through enough.
Yeah, you do have to love JRPGs, and that's the only downside. I couldn't recommend this to absolutely anyone and everyone. I don't think you're a big JRPG fan, Turbo.
Well, I'm okay. I mean, I've some of my favorites have been Skies of Arcadia and Grandia 2, but I've not really been a heavy JRPG person, but I have been a fan of the Persona franchise, with Persona 4 Arena and Ultimax, and Persona 4 Dancing All Night. I like those side games. I like those side games a lot, and I like the characters.
I do as well.
Yeah, but I can never invest time into an RPG nowadays. I need to be in the right mindset. With a traditional JRPG.
They're pretty big time sinks, they are.
Oh yeah, and it's like with a traditional JRPG, I need to put in a lot of time with it.
You do,
but
I agree.
Yeah, but with me, I am not of that era. I am the platforming kind of era of the 8-bit and 16-bit kind of like genre. So I want quick, fast, linear kind of like gaming, and I prefer that moreover than a JRPG. But I'm not gonna knock your choice either. I do agree that it is one of the best games of this year. It was definitely a much anticipated game as well. A lot of people's kind of like anticipation for this game was fully in max with when it came out, and when it came out, everyone was all over it, and they all had a jamboree with how much it was. Granted, yes, I do believe that all that streaming malarkey and whatnot, where you couldn't stream past a certain point and whatnot. But really, in all honesty,
didn't stop anyone.
It didn't stop anyone, and it didn't really hurt in the long run, really.
If you were going to pick up Persona, you were going to pick up Persona. You weren't going to watch a Let's Play.
I must admit, I'm surprised they were still dedicated enough to bring it out on the PS3 when you bear in mind that was what it was originally announced for like 5 years ago.
Did it come out on PS3?
Yeah.
Alright, I thought they scrapped the PS3 version,
nope.
but
no, it's still available on PS3. The only thing I will say is, this is like Chris, you can tell in places it was obviously originally designed for the PS3. Some of the textures are a little bit
low
blocky.
def.
But oddly enough, mentioning dancing ones, you do know they're bringing out 2 new ones.
Yes,
Trevor.
I know.
Are you going to try and get any of those?
I might get that one.
I haven't played
I don't know.
Persona 4 dancing one yet. I really want to. I don't know what's stopping me.
It's stupidly fun. It's got a dark story to begin with, but it's fun.
If you know the story from the original Persona 4, it's nowhere near as dark as that.
Aye.
Trust me. Here's the thing. Persona 4 starts off pretty dark.
Oh yeah,
Persona
I know.
5
I've watched the anime adaptation as well myself. So
Persona 5 kind of goes, you think that's dark? Wait till you see this, and that starts off horrible. I don't want to give anything away because I think they're doing an animation of that one as well. So maybe
They
watch
probably
that.
are.
I'm definitely gonna.
Knowing how Atlas wants to market the series now, I'm sure they probably are.
Yeah. Anyway, Turbo, you're number one.
Well, my number one, as okay, I got an email there. That's weird. It's a
fine.
ding. My number one is a game that you don't like, Urtheart. You were panning this just literally moments ago, but I have to disagree.
It's fine to disagree.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed, and of course this was a system seller. It was that of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and with me and whatnot, I wasn't actively going up against everyone, monsters and whatnot. I wasn't actively looking for trouble. I tried to be with my gameplay experience with me and my gameplay kind of like methods with a game like Zelda Breath of the Wild is just wander, don't confront, and when you do wander, you're wandering to find these. Most of the time, my goal was just finding as many shrines as possible to upgrade my maximum health and my stamina. More so than anything else, and what I did find, I would find, and if I did find a group of enemies and whatnot, I try to be as stealthy as possible. I wouldn't be going in guns a blazing and swords a swinging and whatnot, like Mr. Cannon Happy here, but
That's just my method of play, I'm afraid.
yeah, but with me, it's like I did obviously. Some of the when it got to a point where I was going up against a big hulking monster, like the Haydox, I think it's called, and I was constantly getting killed by that multiple times. I would eventually just say, you know what, I think I'm not ready for this. I'll go somewhere else, and that's what I did. I would just go somewhere else. I would venture somewhere else. I might go to somewhere more plot oriented, like going to Kakariko Village, or again going on side quests to find more shrines. I might see a treasure chest in the distance and go, I want to see what's in there. So I'll venture forth and go see what's in it. And it was definitely a game that I was really, it was one, with those games where you kind of like it's the case of, oh, 1 more hour, just give me 1 more hour, I'll finish up this Switch, and then 3 hours later you're still on there. That's what had me. It was that kind of like mechanic, and that's the same with Mario Odyssey as well, where they had like they have that kind of like that drawing power where it's like it's just one more chest, one more shrine, one more enemy camp, one more in this that, and it would just add on top, and it was just it just kept me.
You find a good stopping point, and then it's like just off the cliff. There's a little bit more to do.
Yeah, but it's that kind of like kind of like draw to me that made me feel that this game was a game of the year, and in turn my number one game of the year, because I went through it 100%. I completed it.
Define 100%, because
I got all the Korok seeds. Really? I went out of my way. I had a guide. I had a guide for it.
Oh, at least you did that.
I had the official strategy guide with me, which wasn't 100% accurate. So so I had to find certain things.
It was stuff like that just made me go, is it really worth me doing it? Yeah. And that's kind of just why I just went.
But it was all for the novelty, essentially, for it. But no, I did go 100%, and I'm looking forward to the expansion DLC. The first pack that already made available, I played through that. I went through the Trials of the Sword and maxed out my Master Sword power, so that's awesome. And I'm looking forward to the prequel story DLC with the Guardians. That's hopefully this month as well. And actually, and I love the Guardian characters so much that I actually did pick up the 4-pack amiibo set.
I wanted to. I actually genuinely wanted to pick up that because I really do like the character designs. But
Yeah.
I was not paying what game we're asking for it.
Well, you should go to Nintendo's website because apparently it's a lot cheaper on there.
I tried to, but I was too late. They were sold out.
Oh, of course.
They were 20 quid cheaper, I think.
Yeah, they were 20 quid cheaper. But yeah, with Zelda Breath of the Wild, it was a system seller for the Switch. It was definitely, even with its performance issues, it was still something that I feel as though it was a system seller, and I really was having so much fun with it, and I spent a lot of time into it, and I look forward to the DLC that's coming out soon, and yeah, that's my number one.
Don't get me wrong with my rant. I'm not saying it's a bad game because I definitely had some enjoyment with it. It's definitely not the worst game of the year for me.
No,
but it just didn't suit the way I typically played Zelda
yeah.
games.
You had a different outlook into playing that Zelda game, and of course that's the same with me. I mean, I played Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword in the same vein, where I'm just going in and hacking and slashing and whatnot, and going in that way. But no, with Breath of the Wild, you have that openness. It is this open world. You can't just go in. You can't just go guns a-blazing and just take on the world, take on the wild. You can't just go in there and hope for the best. No, you have to be methodical, and you have to venture into that world with caution, because anything can get you. And that's what I did.
Something I just kind of want to ask you, actually, because the one thing I felt on the Wii U version is it felt like there was some stuff that should have been on the, like, the one big thing I didn't understand is why you could have the gameplay on the TV or the Wii U pad, but if it was on the TV, the Wii U pad just had a message saying tap to switch. It's like, why didn't you have the map on the Wii U screen? I don't know if it felt like in the Switch version where it was like,
well,
maybe
being that
something missing?
Well, being that the Switch version doesn't have the ability to be connected to the TV and be in handheld mode at the same time, I guess that was just a design thing that they thought, because if we were gonna put this on the Switch, we need to optimize it more for the Switch, and we can't have the usual features that we would normally have with the Wii U version.
Obviously, originally designed for the Wii U. So
yeah.
Does it?
But
feel like stuff was cut?
But in mid-development, they would have to change it to optimize it for the Switch. So if they were gonna do that, they might as well just do the whole, make it equal between the two.
And as I said, it just felt like some things were missing that should have been there. Like they felt like they should have been there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I could understand.
And that didn't really take away per se from it. It just felt odd, especially when there's that puzzle where you have to use. For me, it was use the Wii U pad and tilt it to get this ball to roll around a maze.
Yeah, well, it's the same with the Pro controller or the Joy-Cons. You have to you got the gyro controls in that as well. So
yeah, it doesn't really help on the Wii U pad when you have to do that when the screen's on the Wii U pad. So you've got to tilt it so you can't see it.
Yeah,
it's just annoying. But yeah, no, I'm certainly, I do think it is a very good game. I think either that or Mario Odyssey is going to be most people's game of the years anyway.
Yeah.
How come Mario Odyssey didn't make your list? Just out of interest.
I felt as though that for a platformer, it was just too overzealous with its collectibles, because like by the end of the game, you can collect up to over 800 moons to be collectible, and after it, I was kind of like, it's like I'm not liking this. It's like even like halfway through, like after I got about like half of the moons and whatnot, I was getting really tired.
Oddly, that's the way I felt about Zelda with the mini shrines and the Korok seeds.
Well, you see with the shrines, they actually help make you grow, whilst the moons in Mario Odyssey, they're just they just tally up in the number.
Fair enough.
And of course, you don't really need that many moons to progress. they are arbitrary. Whilst the shrines, they are, even though they are arbitrary, they do actually help you in the long run. They do make you stronger. So
that's where I felt like the Wii U functionality was missing, was the big dungeons in Zelda. You know, when you control the divine beasts.
yeah,
I felt like that should be on the Wii U pad, and you should be controlling that while you're also moving
through it. Yeah, understandable.
That feels like that was how it was designed to be. I don't know, that's maybe just my thoughts. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think we've dwelled on
We've
this.
talked about it long enough.
As I've been sitting here like, I have no idea. I've no idea on this game. I've not played it. I've like seen videos. I've seen the videos where the guy basically sets up an amazing kind of like attack, talks to a guy, pauses the time, then unpauses the time, and it just kills the enemy or whatever. It's
Actually,
like
I quite like the tricks they do with travelling with a rock, where you freeze the rock
it's
in time.
basically that. Like a guy, like he throws a rock, hit it like 1,000 times, spoke to a person, and then like, it launched into the air, and then he waited a bit, talked to a person, the person jumps back, transforms into something, and then the rock just lands on them. So it's like impressive.
I have no idea what your number one is, to be honest, Shadow, because I can't think what else you played this year.
It was a game that came out very early this year. It was an indie game. It's a game that has a 10 out of 10 rating on Steam, apparently.
And it's what your icon's based on.
Pretty much. It's a game which has the quote, "Bite my entire arse, go legally brain dead from lack of oxygen from choking on my entire arse." It is Night in the Woods. This was another one of those indie darling games that I am so annoyed that I missed out on when it originally came out. It's one of those ones where it's like, it's everywhere. It's on DeviantArt, it's on Tumblr, it's wherever. You're seeing posts about it everywhere. It's getting these mad raving reviews, but it's like been a month since it's been out, and I'm like, where has it been? How have I missed this? And then I start seeing a Let's Play, and I think about 3 episodes into the Let's Play, I went off, bought the game, and just played through it all myself. It's very much like a lot of our list. It's another very single-player focused game. Or I think I'm the only person in this list who's mentioned anything multiplayer, and that was Destiny 2 and Eve Valkyrie.
I mean, 20XX has a 2-player mode, and that's about as far as I can go.
But no, yeah, so Night in the Woods, well, it's an incredibly story-driven game. It's in a way, it's a bit like it's a combination of like a mini game collection, because there's so many just little things you can do. There's a Guitar Hero kind of button pressing to the music. There's a stealing mini game. There's knife fights, crossbow firing.
I've not got to any of this stuff yet.
But the story is hilarious. But it's a very in-depth story. It's about the characters you play as. May, you play as May Borowski, and you've got your friend Greg, who is Lord of the Snack Falcon. Sorry. You've got B, your gothic friend, and you've got Angus, who's Greg's boyfriend. It's a very deep game. There's a lot of themes going on. The music's amazing. Again, it's another one of those ones where you can buy it with the soundtrack, and I did. There's a in a game, I don't want to spoil too much about the game. There is so much going on. It's basically a social simulator with a hint of some kind of Lovecraftian horror going on.
And with an entire dungeon crawling mini game in it.
Yeah, there's a game called, what's it called?
Oh, I don't remember.
If
Face raves on about it because she loves it.
It's an entire it's an entire dungeon crawler game inside this game that you only get access to once you've actually cleared your laptop of all the porn it had on it and all the viruses.
Honestly, this was my number 6. I almost placed this above Sonic Mania and then went, yeah, but I've actually finished Sonic Mania. So...
Oh yeah, there's this star seeing, and it's like the game, you have to play through the game at least twice, because there's like you can hang out with Greg or you can hang out with B. Then there's also a point when you can hang out with 3 people, but you get to choose 2, and it's a multiple storyline. There's a lot of things that you can do that can kind of influence little bits later on. Like there are some little windmilly things that you, if you jump next to them, it sends a note flying out. Which then, if you hang out with a certain person in a certain place, they all collect there, and you get to read them all. It's just these little tiny details. But I mean, yeah, the story is absolutely fantastic. According to our list, it's been a good game year for single player games, and that all those thoughts of multiplayer only games and multiplayer is the way to go is actually a bunch of lies.
Yeah, but I think that might just be our personal preferences.
No, true.
I mean, yeah, as you said, I've played Destiny 2 with you. Destiny 2, yeah, it's a bit lower on the list. But we're not saying you have to buy all these games. If you're listening, maybe buy the number ones.
It's got a weird Autumn Edition coming out this month.
Oh yeah, no.
Which is the fall, which is like a bit of that, which actually has the 2 previous games in the series, which are just like little side stories.
I didn't even know that existed. I'm planning to blitz Night in the Woods at some point over the Christmas holidays, hopefully.
Do it.
But you know what? That's a game I want to come to the Switch, so I can play it on the move.
I'm trying to think what it's actually out on, because I think it came out on Xbox or PlayStation.
I think it's on PS4. I don't think it's on Xbox.
No, I don't want the Steam page. The Steam page is.
I'll be honest. I think if I'd played, I really want to play Mario and Rabbids, because I think I will love that game, because I like the XCOM style combat, but I hate how punishing it is.
That seems like a fun little thing. Also, it's coming out to iOS and Android, apparently.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah. Have you played the Mario and Rabbids game, Turbo? Or?
Yes, I have actually. What was it? Totally forgot about that. Actually, it's like, yeah, it is very challenging, that one. If you definitely like your XCOM style, kind of like challenge to it. Yeah, it does have a wee bit of a challenge in the later game. It doesn't really have that much of a challenge at the start, but
that's fine, because I hate the fact that XCOM basically goes, "Hi, here's your introduction to the game. By the way, we're going to kill half your characters in the intro." Why?
Yeah.
So these are characters you might grow attached to. Nope. No.
No.
I still don't believe my... Oh, God.
This year, I actually had to get like a list of every game that came out this year and just like filter them out and go, okay, this one. Don't care about these ones. And I think I had a list of about 30 odd games that I actually heard of this year. And that's just including like major releases. There's a whole bunch of indie stuff going on in the background that I can't even. I mean, next year is definitely going to be like a year of indie games for me, because I've got Nilo, Indivisible, Them's Fighting Herds. And those are just games I've got access to, like early access to at the moment.
The only game I can think of off the top of my head, other than ones I'm working on, that I'm looking forward to next year, there's the Final Fantasy Dissidia game, which I don't know how much I'm going to enjoy, because I think it's a mostly multiplayer focused game. Although that's going to be another game that's going to be teams of 3 as well. It's like, why? Thankfully, I only know 2 other people that are going to buy the game, so yeah. What about you, Turbo? Any games coming up next year you can think of?
For the future of 2018, there's really not anything on the calendar that I'm really kind of like focused on. I don't think. There's really not anything that's caught my eye.
I mean,
I'm sure something will eventually, but or there is probably something that is on the back of my mind, but I've just totally forgotten about it.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's a clear calendar. I'm just anticipating what might just pop up, and of course I'll look forward to it.
I know that there's one game I'm interested in, but I know it's a bit of a controversial one.
Oh, Metal Gear Survive.
Yeah, Metal Gear Survive.
I'm intrigued to see what it's like, but I don't think it's going to be amazing.
I don't think. I mean, it's a 4-player. Again, it's a 4-player kind of survival game, which I mean, and it's running off the Metal Gear Phantom Pain, whatever, Ground Zero's engine.
Still need to play that.
And I mean, it looks like it'll be smooth. It looks like it'll be fun. But obviously, of course, Konami are just currently anything that comes out for that game is just being neg bombed into the ground, that just by sheer force of internet hate. I was looking at the other Konami videos on their YouTube page, and it's like like the Bomberman R. They recently released the Grand Prix trailer for that. That has positive reviews.
Oh, what was
It's
it?
just a
I have
very
thought of one
sore
other game
spot
that
for me.
I don't think will come out next year, but if it does, is going to be instant buy, which is Kingdom Hearts 3. Likelihood of coming up next year, 25% maybe.
I think Lost Ember is another indie game that for me that comes out next year. I think this year has mostly been for me Dota, Eve, Destiny 2. It's been like Dota and Eve are these. It's again these games that are a service. It's multiplayer games that are just ongoing. I've been like dabbing into Overwatch as well.
Whereas Turbo's mostly been playing Turbo Drive Live games.
Yeah.
Well, that too. But no, I have been playing a lot of other games. I mean,
No.
just recently with Switch games. I mean, I did play Bomberman R. Did play Poi Poi Tetris and all that.
No,
It's
I played Puyo Puyo Tetris. I really enjoyed that. I didn't finish it.
Yeah,
which is
it's
a
just
shame.
I didn't bother bringing them up because I just didn't feel like they needed to be mentioned too
Nah.
much. I just obviously just forgot.
To be fair, I've got Puyo Puyo Tetris on the PS4, and I do think that's probably more suited to a hand. I don't know why we didn't get the Vita version, because I would have so bought that on the Vita.
I just don't think the Vita has much pull anymore over
It,
here.
do,
Certainly.
it does in Japan still, just not over here. In
Oh, yeah,
Japan, it is
in-
genuinely competing with the Switch.
Oh yeah, but this is it's like the whole gaming economy with Japan versus over here is so. Oh, it's like was it the Xboxes are being advertised as Blu-ray players because you can't sell them as gaming consoles.
Oddly enough, if Final Fantasy 15 had come out this year, it would have probably been my number 2 game, because I like Persona 5. There was times where I was just playing it and then suddenly realised it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I've got to be up in 2 hours. That seemed to have shocked you to silence.
No, it's the silence of agreement.
Yeah, it's like again. Eve has been the game that I've just kind of. I think to myself, I'll just do one more little thing. I'll run one more mission. I'll go out one more system, and it's 4 a.m. When
Yeah.
did that happen?
Oddly, the other game that I've quite literally... I said I got Mario Odyssey today. 2 weeks ago, I got another game that's been released this year, which probably would have made my list, by Platinum Games.
Is that Near Automata?
Yep.
Oh, yes, that came out.
That was a game I played as well that I felt I couldn't really put on a list.
No, fair
really.
I think I will enjoy it. I don't think it's going to amaze me or anything, but I think I paid 20 quid for it. I think I'm going to thoroughly enjoy it.
Bayonetta and Vanquish came out for PC this year as well.
Yeah.
True.
I'm looking forward to when PC becomes kind of like it gets a lot of these games as well.
I do admit I play more on my PC than anything else these
I
days.
play so much more on my PC than my consoles now.
Other than my mobile, in which Final Fantasy Record Keeper is easily the game that's taken up most of my time this year.
Are there anything else we want to?
Any other
games
closing
to
thoughts
mention?
from you guys?
Well, I'll definitely say that 2017 has been a decent year for gaming this year. I feel as though it had a very good steady stream of releases.
I would agree. I don't think it had any massive hits, like stuff that just wowed us. I would actually say the biggest wow factor was probably Resi 7, just because of how strong a VR title it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course, with the Switch, it had its prominence in the public eye from day one, and still going on strong to the end of this year. So, and it's not even a year old. So,
True.
I could definitely say, yeah, it's been a really good year for.
I will say there is one.
we
Actually,
also had
that
the
is true. There is one game I'm looking forward to on Switch next year.
What's that?
Metroid 4.
Ah,
Well, that's not. Well, you can't really say that's next year, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really should try Samus Returns, although I've heard mixed things about that one.
we had the Xbox One X out this year as well. So
Yeah.
we're setting up for hopefully for a decent year to next year. I was about to say a decent year tomorrow, which would have been.
Well, you never know. LMC's
but I-
Grandmaster might schedule this for 31st of December, in which case your statement will be correct.
It will be true. I can pass out and I could just go to sleep now and wake up in the new on the 1st, and it'd be true.
But yes, thank you two for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And if you liked this countdown of games of the year and you want us to do anything similar, I've got a couple of other ones planned. Might even invite these two back for one of them. There's another one that I have planned with Kevin, Eva, and Vija, which could be rather interesting because it's not based on video games. So,
Well, if there's a subject I know anything about.
yeah, board games. Yes, thank you very much, and thank you everyone who's been listening. This is Urtheart.
I've been Turbo.
And I've been Shadow.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.